This video contains intense scenes of horror, suspense, and disturbing imagery that may not be suitable for children under 13. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Parental guidance is recommended for younger audiences. Please ensure that viewers are prepared for frightening content and themes. Some stories are so chilling, so unexplainable, they cling to you like a shadow, long after the lights go out. Tonight, we'll uncover 3 terrifying stories, accounts of horror and the unknown that will haunt your dreams. But be warned, not all nightmares end when you wake up. Are you ready? Story 1. The Bridge of Crying Children. In Sleepy Hollow, New York, not far from the Hudson River, stood an old, rotting wooden bridge hidden deep in the woods. Locals called it the Crybaby Bridge, where the cries of lost children were said to haunt the night. And on moonless nights, the bridge was said to weep with the sounds of those who had drowned. Maggie and her boyfriend, Jake, ventured there for a thrill. "It's just a story," Jake laughed as Maggie hesitated at the edge of the bridge. The air grew colder, the wind carrying an unsettling whisper. Then, from beneath the planks, a faint sobbing sound rose, soft at first, but growing louder. "Hello?" Maggie called, her voice trembling. Tiny, frozen handprints appeared in the frost on the wooden railing. Jake leaned over to peer into the creek below, his face pale as he whispered, "It's nothing." Before he could finish, an unseen force yanked him downward with impossible strength. His scream was abruptly cut off as the water bubbled where he had stood. Maggie gasped, backing away as the sobbing turned to eerie, hollow laughter. Tiny spectral figures emerged from the mist, their faces blank slates, dark hollow eyes staring through her. They reached out, their tiny, skeletal hands clawing at Maggie's legs. "Stay and play with us," they chanted in unison, their voices overlapping in a shrill, unnatural harmony. As Maggie turned to run, the bridge seemed to stretch endlessly, like a living thing, warping and twisting around her. Her screams were drowned out by the whispers of the children, and when the fog swallowed her whole, it was as though she had never been there. The next morning, the bridge stood silent, except for Jake's abandoned flashlight and Maggie's scarf, fluttering in the wind. Story 2. The Haunting of Alcatraz. Perched on a rocky island in San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz stood as a grim monument to punishment and despair. Long closed to prisoners, it now attracted tourists who wandered its bleak corridors. But at night, when the island grew silent, the ghosts returned, their moans drifting on the wind like whispers of the damned. David, a skeptic visiting with friends, lingered behind in cell block D, the solitary confinement wing. The air was thick with the scent of salt and mildew, and the temperature dropped as he ventured deeper. "Let's see if the ghosts are real," David scoffed as he entered the notorious hole where prisoners had been driven mad. The steel door slammed shut behind him with a deafening bang. A low growl echoed through the cell, sending chills down David's spine. "Who's there?" he whispered, his voice shaking. The reply came in a voice that seemed to crawl from the walls themselves. "You don't belong here." Suddenly, invisible hands gripped his throat, cutting off his breath. Shadows swirled around him, forming into a towering figure. "You will stay," it growled, its voice vibrating the very air. David clawed at the darkness, gasping for air as the cell seemed to close in on him, the walls pressing tighter and tighter. When his friends opened the door minutes later, they found him curled in the corner, trembling, his eyes wide with terror. "He's still here. He won't let me leave," he muttered, his voice hoarse. Later that night, the security guard, an older man named Thompson, reviewed the security footage from cell block D. As he scrolled through the grainy video, his eyes narrowed when he saw the cell door slam shut on its own, and the shadowy figure move across the frame. He didn't seem fazed by what he saw. Sighing, he tapped the desk and muttered to himself, "Another night in cell block D." Story 3. The Gate to Hell. Nestled in the misty hollows of the Appalachian Mountains, the town of Black Hollow was a place forgotten by time. Crumbling cobblestone streets twisted through the heart of the town, lined with warped wooden houses that leaned together like conspirators whispering secrets. A peculiar feature of Black Hollow was the iron gate at its center, a monstrous construct adorned with ancient carvings and rusted spikes. The gate stood solitary in the town square, its purpose shrouded in whispered folklore that no one dared to investigate. The townspeople were peculiar. They never left, nor did they allow outsiders to stay past sunset. Their lives revolved around rituals and ceremonies, none more unsettling than the hour of silence. Every night at 11 p.m., an unearthly hush fell over the town. Lights extinguished, doors locked, and the people prayed in trembling unison. No one spoke of what the prayers were for, only that they kept the other side at bay. One fateful evening, a traveling historian named Dr. Elias Grimsby arrived, intrigued by rumors of Black Hollow's mysterious gate. He disregarded the townsfolk's warnings, fascinated by the carvings of writhing figures etched into the iron. Under a waning moon, Elias disobeyed the town's curfew and pried the lock free, unaware of the catastrophe he was about to unleash. The gate creaked open, revealing a swirling vortex of sickly green mist that spilled forth like a tide of decay. From the depths of the vortex emerged the first wave of zombies, gaunt and ravenous, their hollow eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. They moved with an unnatural silence, a grotesque parody of the living. Elias, paralyzed with horror, watched as the townsfolk burst from their homes, wielding torches and chanting guttural incantations in a desperate attempt to push the horde back. The ground beneath Black Hollow trembled as more creatures poured through the gate, their bodies twisted and malformed. Among them rose a towering figure, its skeletal form crowned with a fiery halo. This was no ordinary zombie. It was their leader, a revenant known only as the Gatekeeper. It raised one bony hand, and the undead army surged forward with terrifying speed. The townspeople's efforts were futile. Their chants faltered as they were dragged screaming into the vortex. Elias, realizing his role in the calamity, stumbled toward the gate, clutching a sacred book he had stolen from the town's archives. Its pages described an ancient ritual to seal the portal but demanded a terrible price, a human sacrifice willingly given. With time running out, Elias gazed upward as if asking for forgiveness. He then threw himself into the vortex, reciting the incantation with trembling lips. The gate shuddered violently as the vortex consumed him, his screams mingling with the howls of the undead. The iron gate slammed shut, the carvings glowing red-hot before fading to black. Black Hollow was left in ruins, its few survivors forever haunted by the night's events. The gate stood silent once more, but the townsfolk knew better. They reforged the lock and redoubled their rituals, their eyes forever fixed on the gate, waiting for the day it would creak open again. Some mysteries defy explanation, leaving us questioning what's real and what lies beyond. If these stories left you with goosebumps, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to A Twisted Mind. New horrors await you every week, so hit that bell icon and join us if you dare. Sleep tight.